Howdy, howdy, howdy. It's a Rodfather 916. Probably one of my most popular videos on my channel is one I did a few years ago about retiring. My brother was dying of cancer, and that particular year, I mean, it's like this is February, so what, 3 4 years, 3 years, the date. A lot of people, a lot of men died in their apartment complex. And that frightened me because I live alone. All of my kids are grown, and I don't like to bother anybody, and I like my independence. But I realize, unlike the women who live here in the complex, we tend to go off and live a life alone because we don't want to be a bother. We don't want to ask for help. It's not manly. So I did the video, and it's still popular. It's several people have shared that video with a lot of people, and I'm grateful for it. Um, but you had a lot of angry people who saw it. A lot of angry women who said, I have a father, but I don't care. Angry men, black men. He could go to hell. He could burn in hell. I don't care about my father. He should die alone because he did nothing for us. Well, what I like to do in the next few minutes, if you bear with me, is to explain. Maybe you know this. I hope you don't think that I'm mansplaining to anybody. Some of you may have heard this, but you haven't. Just bear with me. I'm going to be with you for a few minutes. I hope you can last till the end. I have suggested on my page that people, it's difficult to be understanding when you're angry and resentful. And that anger is mostly hurt. That's the root of most anger, is hurt. A lot of people don't want to admit that, but that's the truth. In the 40s, 50s, and 60s, black men and black women fought to get into the better schools, into colleges. And the government seemed to be aware of what's happening. And many people believe the most dangerous man in the United States is a black man with an education. Because as a result of our education, we were able to argue our points. Martin Luther King was an educated man. So was Malcolm X. So were our great leaders. And as a result of their education, they could go one-on-one with the white man. I was born in 1956. For the first 10 years of my life, voting was still a question, not in every state. Black people were not able to vote. That took place in 1966. And around that time, the laws of segregation they lost. But until that time, I lived in a neighborhood where a custodian would live next to a doctor, who would live next to a mechanic, who would live next to a pharmacist, who would live next to a teacher, who would live next to a laborer, which is my parents. My parents were laborers. My father always worked 2 or 3 jobs. My mother worked when she worked at a cannery. When she wasn't working at a cannery, she would work and clean up white ladies' homes in our community. And we were considered middle class. But every person I went to school with They all had mothers and fathers. And those fathers, and even the mothers, we were a community. Every black person in my neighborhood was my mother or my father. They didn't hit me, beat me, or tell me what to do, but they would certainly tell my mom, or even sometimes pick me up and drop me someplace. So I was always aware of an adult and had the utmost respect, because my mother and my dad, if word got out I disrespected an adult, another adult yelled and screamed at another adult, I was going to get whooped. I was going to get whooped because that was an embarrassment to them. Somewhere in the 60s, after integration, where the doctors and the professionals could now leave the neighborhood for a nicer home, a nicer neighborhood, changed the face of the neighborhood. But what really changed the face of the neighborhood is that you saw more, you saw fewer households with men. You know, you could get welfare, but the woman could get welfare and the children could get welfare if they needed aid, but the father could not live in a household. And that was deliberate. And then by the 1970s, still struggling to look for work despite all the laws that are laws that are out there, black men started to get longer sentences. I had a relative just come out of jail after almost 40 years of being in jail. And I am older than he is, probably like a good 8 or 9 years. People would have 2 joints in their pocket and get 30 years. This bit of information affects you. They took men from households. Not every black man committed time, but if a white man had 2 joints, he may have gotten a year, 4 years. A black man would get 30. So now you have a lot of people in jail, even though we're 10% of the population, we made up 80% of the jails. A lot of you know that. Some of you go, well, I know that already. So bear with me. You have almost 2 or 3 generations now of black men have been in jail. As a result, you have fewer men and more women leading the household. Notice I didn't say anything disparaging, because you're blessed to have a parent who did the best she could, or the best he could if his wife was not there. So don't read into this. Don't read any more into this. But years went by where there was no father figure in the household all over the country. As a result, there was not a man to teach another man how to be a man. You don't know what you don't know. There was not a man to tell his daughter how to choose a man of quality. So a lot of women made the mistake. You have generations of women with a lot of children without a husband. As a result, you have a lot of angry men who are angry with their father because they didn't have a father there. You have a generation of women who just resent all men because she saw her mother get up and work and struggle. And she saw her father, these children saw their father out and about, but he wasn't the father. Maybe if they were lucky, he reached in his pocket and handed them a couple of dollars. And so now he's near my age or older. And you have a lot of people going, good, he should die alone. He did nothing for us. Now, on my side, I suggested this, and today I was motivated to do this video because what I've suggested is for all of you who are angry and resentful, if you have a relationship with your father, as difficult as it is, put the anger away and have a talk with him. He knows what he's done. He knows what he's done wrong. There's no reason to revisit it. But because you haven't had a relationship, and in some cases you've only heard one side through your mom, who's angry and resentful, rightfully so. I'm not taking anything away from her. You don't know your dad. The only thing you know about your dad is through your mom and maybe your mom's side of the family. But he has a story. Most of you who are angry don't have a relationship with your dad. And that's where the source of your anger. Because for most people, the root of anger is pain, hurt. And some of you have written me, and I said you need to have a discussion with your dad. Don't accuse him and say, why weren't you there? Find out how he grew up. And it's going to take a minute to get to know you because you're a stranger to him too. And he's going to be uncomfortable. But have many discussions to get you to know your dad. I'm not guaranteeing there's going to be a change, but get to know him. Because our government really did a number on black people, and we haven't recovered. Bravo, America. We're angry. We are hurting each other. We don't know how to react to each other. And the root is hurt. They took the head of the household from the household and put him in jail. And when he came out, because he had a record, it was difficult for him to get to jail. I have family members, most of us have family members somewhere. Not everybody. I'm not painting everybody with the same picture, the same paint of coat. But are selling drugs to survive because they can't find a job. I know of someone who, when he went to prison, he was 19. He's 52 now. No training. And at 52, with arthritic legs, he's selling drugs. Meanwhile, his kids want nothing to do with him. He has one son that does, and they have a fantastic relationship. But the other, his siblings are mad at him because he has a relationship with his dad. But he said to me, it's because I have a relationship with my dad, I'm now a better father. Because I hated my father all my life. Because he described to me seeing his father with other kids and getting them ice cream cones and they're eating candy and the whole 9 yards. But he never came to his house with his siblings. And he did that because the baby mama was angry and hurt. So it wasn't a pleasant experience for him because, mind you, he was young. So for me to see my kids, I have to fight, I have to scream, then I just won't come over there. I'll just go see my other kids' mama and where I can see them without drama. I'm not accusing the mama of being wrong. I'm saying mama was hurt. And mama was doing the best she can. If you're in that situation, you made a bad choice or several bad choices in men, you're angry. You're angry. And if your mom spoke to your dad that way, that's what you learned from your mom. That's what your brother learned from your mom. Didn't say your mom was wrong. I said that's what they learned from your mom. Because again, I can only say this. Some of you will disagree with me, and I'm ready for the letters. But you don't know what you don't know. I don't care what year it is. Yes, this is 2024. It could be 1924. People back then didn't know what they didn't know. You can't. If no one taught you, how do you know? If there's no examples, because we have generations of black people put in jail all over the country for years. And because now you have a smaller pool of educated black men, you have so many black men who are locked in jail. Yes, you had brothers getting them out, but they couldn't get everybody out. They couldn't save everybody. So you have angry people. We are hurting each other. We're shooting each other. We're killing each other. We're humiliating each other. Good job, America. So I'm suggesting, like I said, and a lot of you are going to be mad at me. If you have a relationship with your dad, if you attack him, you will never have a conversation with him. Like I said, he's aware of what he's done. He's aware of his shortcomings. Find out about him. Where did he go to school? How he grew up. How was it for him back in the old day? Trust me, if you give it time, I didn't say it was going to be easy, but you give it time, you will get to know him and get to understand him. And isn't any time with your dad better than no time at all? But you've got to let go of the anger. And I recommend you do that with your mom. Why did your mom? I mean, there are generations of moms who are angry. When I divorced my wife, or my wife and I got a divorce, didn't mean to say it that way. I remember going out on a date with someone near my age. And it was more like an interview. You know, did you cheat on your wife? Do you see your kids? What kind of relationship? The date wasn't pleasant at all because I was being interviewed, and I knew what was happening because, one, I'm black. I have family members where they didn't have a father. I have cousins and other family members who had kids with different men and she kept making the same mistakes. So she was looking at me and waiting for me to slip up. If she could find anything in me that would remind her of the men in her past, just waiting so she could go, yeah, I knew he was no good. He's just like. That's why some black men, again, don't hate me, but that's why some black men will avoid a woman with a mom because women with children, because there's a lot of pain. And I remember towards the end, and I was coming from a good place, but I said her name, and I said, you know, I have a sense you've been hurt by men. I'm not all of those men. I'd like to get to know you. You know, I know you're trying to protect your heart. Well, that was the wrong thing for me to say because the room got loud, and I don't do louds. I don't do scenes. And I got up, paid the check, and I left. Because I thought I was coming with the biggest lead, doing the best I could. But I left. I didn't do it. I loved my wife. Kill for my kids, who were all grown. My situation, even though my father died when I was 6 years old, he died fairly young. There were other men, even in college, who said, go to college and help the race. That's what they did back there. We're talking about the 70s. Get an education and lift a race. Now you have people in certain neighborhoods and communities. They look down on if you go to school. Oh, you're trying to be white. You're trying to be different. Government did a good job. Bravo. Bravo, you did a good job. We bear some responsibilities, and like I said, I'm soon to be 68 years old. A few years ago, I was in a shop, and this guy was probably in his 30s or 40s, and he was bragging about, he's got this baby mama, and he's got another one coming on, and that was a big thing. And I'm looking at his car, and I know, because a man knows a man, you're not doing anything. And all the women he was talking about, he was calling them bitches. And I said that. I stopped and I said, I said, brother, let me ask you a question. If somebody you didn't know, I don't know if you have a sister or an aunt or something, but call your sister, your aunt or something, a bitch. How'd you feel about that? Well, I'd kick his ass. I said, well, whoever you're talking to's got a mother, father, cousin, somebody. Because the OGs, we're part of the problem. If you're a woman and a man calls you a bitch or another woman calls you a bitch, especially in front of your kid, that's not a good thing. You are accepting someone who disrespects you. And if you have kids, you're teaching your sons to disrespect another woman, even if it's just a bunch of women sitting in a room calling, Yeah, you bitch, bitch, bitch. If your son calls a woman or a girl a bitch, that needs to be stopped. Not by just a man, but his mom. It should not be okay if another woman calls another woman bitch, especially in front of her kids, because you've given her permission to allow someone to disrespect her. Bitch is not a term of endearment. At least the last time I looked. But let me go back in the last few minutes here. I know you're hurt. I know a lot of you are hurt. It just hurts. You have years and years and years and years of hurts. One lady who wrote me recently is 42 years old. She has 42 years of hurt. I have family members who have 50 years of hurt and pain. Their dad's still alive. And there's rumors of parties and things that they're not invited to. They don't know the softer side of their dad because they never saw it. You can't erase that. The hurt will never, ever go away. But you can manage the anger if you want to. It's a choice. I don't believe the BS that says, well, I just can't. Well, maybe you just need to stay home and stay angry. Angry ages you, and sometimes it keeps love and joy that you want out of your life. Because a lot of brothers and a lot of sisters who may be looking at this brother, his looks are one thing, but he's angry, and does she want to deal with that? Do you want to be with somebody that you're going to go out who's going to embarrass you in front of your friends? Embarrass you in public places? Some women will find it acceptable, but most women don't want that. Don't want to sign up for that. And same thing with men. Don't want to sign up. I don't want to be embarrassed. He didn't do it. He didn't do it. So have a discussion. Get to know about your father. Because a lot of you, the reason you made the choice, if you had a man in your life, meaning a father in your life, he would tell you, as I have for my nieces, I have said, this man is full of shit. He ain't got nothing on nothing, and it ain't gonna change. Now, in most cases, they didn't believe me, but I was right. Not that I'm proud of being right. Let's be clear. Because if you love somebody, you don't want them to be hurt. And the last thing I need to do is go, well, I told you so. No, they know. I would never disrespect someone and say, I told you so. What do I get? What points do I get from that? I told you so. Especially when I know this is hurt and pain. I'm not doing that. But a man knows another man like a woman knows another woman. If your mama tells you that girl is no good, or your older sisters say, well, listen, I done seen her fall out and fight with people in Walmart, you better listen to your sister, because your sister knows. A woman knows another woman. A man knows another man. But again, bravo to the government. Bravo to our government. They successfully destroyed the black family, but we have to put it back together. So that's the motivation from this video. A lot of you not agree with me. I'm ready. I'm not going to get in an argument or debate with you. I am curious what you have to say. The reason history is important, the reason you need to know the history of your parents, It will give you a better understanding of who they are. But you have to be respectful. They know they've messed up. Where they messed up. Where did you go to school? How was it when going to school? How was it when you growing up with the family? What did you like about school? You may discover that you may have some more in common with your mom and your dad than you ever knew because you're having a discussion the same level. You know, what did you do in school? What did you like? What was your favorite subject? What kind of movies did you guys go to? Movies? Did you dance? Did you... Because as a parent, and I'm a parent, my youngest is, I'm not going to say how old she is, but I made mistakes with her as a human being. Made mistake with my other kids. And if you have kids, you'll make mistakes. And I admit where I make mistakes. And I'm sure as time goes on, they'll probably point other things out that I could have done better. Could have done better. There's no way I was a perfect kid, a perfect parent. Because perfection doesn't exist. We're all doing the best we can with what we know. This is the Rod Father, wishing everybody love, joy, happiness. Last things last. Some of you have some burning. The hurt is so bad that you can barely function. If you're religious, God gave us dentists to help us with our teeth. Like I bit on a fork and this teeth is messed up, so I'm going to probably have to get an implant. He gave us doctors, and he also gave us psychologists and psychologists, because they're people who are trained to help you arrive at a point where you have some understanding. They're not trying to make you crazy. I've had a therapist for a good part of probably 10 years. Worth it. I couldn't tell you. The pastor's not, he is not programmed for that. Your best friend is not programmed for that. And what you tell that therapist stays in that room. Just something to think about. This is the Rod Father. Life is short. Take as much joy. Anger doesn't serve you well if you're angry. I wish everybody seeing this video, well, not just seeing this video, but love everybody anywhere. I wish them love, joy, peace, and happiness. If you've lived this long, you're blessed, because not everybody lives this long. Try to live a life of joy, because I know you've seen anger. This is a Rod Father. Thanks for watching. This was long. I hope someone's benefited from that, but I want to hear from everybody. You don't have to agree with me. Meanwhile, broadcasting live from Sacramento, California, I'm out. God bless.